Hello everybody, welcome to Grainificent. In today's episode, we will be talking a little bit about the Start 66S film camera. Doing a little video about how to use it and how to check your speed mechanism and all that, and some basic maintenance on it. So let's get to the table so you can see much better. Let's start, my friends, from taking this lens cap off from the camera. So we already did a video about how to load the camera. You can watch that video. It will be linked down in the description so we don't repeat ourselves unnecessarily. And of course, when you load it, you have to make sure that this bolt up here is in good working condition, that it works, that you're not missing it or anything. And this wheel turns freely as well, because as you see here in this window, when you do turn this, it will be trying to advance the frame. Of course, it won't advance it far now because this bolt is stuck open. If I press it in, and then you will see that it's advancing inside there. There we go, frame one. And to advance any further, we gotta press this release to the forward of the camera. When you let go of it, it will reset the counter. So up inside here, of course, you always gotta keep an empty spool up here. To put it in or take it out, you just pull on this knob out. As you see, it works like that. That will be spoken about in the video about how to reload it. And as well, this bottom one, you pull out to put the roll in, and then you screw this closed all the way until you can't screw it any further, so it doesn't come out. So the roll is locked into place and it goes around. Opening and loading will be in another video, but the other usage is, of course, roll the frame, change the frames with this knob over here, and we got it set to bulb. So as you see, when we get it set to bulb, it opens up the shutter, and when you let go, it closes it. And the different times you want to set, let's set it to 15th of a second, and that was a 15th of a second. Here you can mount different accessories to your camera, and here we got the flash sync port. And of course, each time you take a photo, you have to press this button forward this way, like that, in order to release the crank to advance to the next frame. And you keep advancing until the crank locks in at the next frame. It will lock automatically when the frame changes, and you take another photo. If you don't press this release button and crank it to the next photo, then you will be taking multiple exposures on the same exact frame. And as well, if your numbers are jumping through 1, 2, 3, and it still didn't lock into place, you might be having some kind of a problem with it. So to check, always check that this bolt here isn't moved to the forward position. It's always kept as far back as it could go. And if it still don't work, or your frame counter don't work, then you would have to give the camera for repairs, because the whole mechanism is hidden inside here and you can't have easy access to it. So just check with this release, as well as this wheel and this door lock indicator both. And so here we got the focusing knob. You see, when you focus near, that will move out. When you focus towards infinity, it will move back in. And then on the knobs over here, you have the depth of field indicator for F16, F8, F4, and on the center is the line which you have set to currently. And on here, you will have your distances. So if you set it to 5, that will be in meters. If you set it to 5 meters, at F8, you see your depth of field is from 10 meters to about 3.5, from about 3.5 to 10 meters. Or if you set it to F16, it would be about 2.5 all the way up to infinity. So this is a good indicator to know what your depth of field is. And of course, don't press on the mechanism anywhere here so you don't get it crooked or anything like that, because then the top lens could show you something else than the bottom lens really sees. So make sure this is all nice and even here. Because how TLR works, when you're looking in through the viewfinder, what you see is through the top lens go into the mirror and bouncing up, and that's what you see. You look through the top lens. But when you take a photo, the bottom lens is the lens that takes the photo to on the film. And of course the top, you just open up and close just like this. And the magnifying glass, press on the front here on this big square. See, you can press on it and it helps to get the magnifying glass out so you can focus much easier. And as well, if you don't want to or don't have time to frame your shots using this screen because it works in the opposite ways, you see what you could do as well, what this camera allows you to, when you press on this and you lock it down like that, you could look through this and frame your shots through this window. Because if you align your window with this window over here, whatever you see in here is what should come out on the photo. So that's one way to get your shots as well. And you just pull this back to lock this back up, fold this down, and close it back up. So now here on the front, you have your f-stop, how much you want to close down your lens, from 3.5 all the way up to 22. And as we already spoke, this is the shutter lever and this is the shutter release, just like that. So now if your times aren't working properly or your shutter is freezing up when releasing and it don't work as it should, it is very simple to check. What you do is this front element, you just unscrew it, just like that. You unscrew this top cover, put it aside, you end up with something like this. Of course, when you take off that main part, be careful because the lens, top lens part can come falling out. So be careful about that. If it does fall out, this black ring goes in first, and then this lens part with the round side pointing up, the lens goes in like this. And you can clean it up before you put it in so you got a nice and clean lens in there, just like that. And remember to keep your camera up so it doesn't fall out, so you don't lose it. You see this brown ring underneath? You have to unscrew that as well. That should not be tightened very hard, because if you tighten this ring too hard, you won't be able to rotate your timing. So as well, if you see a camera in the store that you can't move this timing at all, 99% it's not broken, just this brown ring is too tight on it. Because if I tighten it even more, now I can barely move the timing mechanism. But if I loosen it up, let's loosen it up even more. Let's see, now you could just easily fly around with it. So what we're gonna do is just take this ring completely off, unscrew it here. There we go, we got that unscrewed, we'll just put it to the side. And now we could just lift this entire mechanism up, and we will just take out from inside this plate. We'll separate this. So we'll put the plate over there. And here we have visible the mechanisms. So let's put this back on so we can explain it more simply. We put it on so this bolt over here is on this side, just like that. Not in this hole, right in here. So the timing mechanism is over here. Well, basically, everything about the time is in this wheel, because see, now we have it set to bulb mode, and I know it's in bulb mode because this little bolt over here is inside of this hole, right above this hole. What this hole does, when you set the shutter lever and release the shutter, this falls into the hole, preventing the shutter from closing. You see this pin is in the up position. When you let go, the pin falls and closes the shutter. When you change it to 15th of a second, that's this edge over here, the bolt is on this edge, and you see here that pin is not above the hole anymore. So now it will not stop the shutter from closing. So 1/15th of a second is the amount of time that this needs to go up and all the way back down. The shorter this distance is, the faster it will close. Just like that. If we turn it a little bit further, you see this little bolt here went up a step higher. That's the next time in line. That's 30th of a second. So again, we take the shutter, release it. You see that distance was much shorter and it closed much faster. If we take it to the next step up is 60th of a second. And again, just like that. And the next step up is 125th of a second. Because you see the distance is getting shorter and shorter. It barely has any room to move over there. Just like that. And the very highest step is 2/50th of a second. And you see it can't move any faster than that because basically the delay mechanism is not in action now. So that's just the fastest this spring could go on this shutter. So let's take this off and see how it works more exactly. When you pull on the shutter lever, it locks into place. And the bulb mode that's why there's this hole for this lever over here, because this lever will be preventing the shutter from moving forward and closing, as you will see now. See, right there? This lever prevented this from continuing, and it's stuck in the open position until you let go, where it can continue its way. If you would block this pin so it doesn't swing into position, you would just have a regular 1/15th of a second shutter open. And if your shutter freezes up or gets stuck in the open position, most likely this delay mechanism is a little bit too dirty over here or not oiled up. You should clean this area over here and drop a drop of oil onto this wheel over here, this one over here, and that should fix 99% of the problems. If you want to make sure that it's freezing up because of this mechanism, not some internal problem, you can as well just pull the shutter lever down like halfway, and this screw over here, you can move the screw, and as you see, the shutter opens and closes. So if your shutter opens and closes as fluidly as this one, just like that, then there should be no problem with your shutter. If you open it and it stays open, that means the camera would have to go into some deeper repairs and cleaning and lubing. But if it works as fluidly as this one, there is no problem with the shutter itself. And as well, this screw that we were just moving, that's also responsible for the flash sync to work, because when you release the shutter, this screw connects with this port down here, closing the connection to release the flash. So if your flash sync port doesn't work, you should check if this screw connects with this little spring over here, because as you see, in bulb mode, it will connect with that spring. So that's simply how the shutter mechanism works here, how you can just dust it off, clean it off, and if this isn't moving as fluidly, then some oil would be needed here. Just not a lot so it doesn't spill all over the place. Just put a little blob over here on this wheel and move it around a few times so it works as fluidly as you see here. And of course, if you cock the shutter and release it, and this doesn't move at all, then you would have some problem here, but that would also require some deeper repairs. So now, let's put the camera back together. Also the f-stops, if you could put it into bulb mode, and you see inside how the aperture blades are closing and opening. And if you see an aperture blade that's missing or moving, this does not close or open the aperture blades, that means the camera as well will need a deeper repair. I will make a video like that one day, how to repair that yourself, but that will be a complicated repair. So let's put it back together. The way you put it back together is the same way we took it apart. We put this up over here, and remember this post over here goes onto this side of here, just like that, and make sure this bolt is inside this window here, because if you would put your lock like that, you see that bolt is behind it, so is blocking the way, you won't put it together properly. So just make sure it's right over here, this bolt visible in the hole and this bolt visible in this hole as well. So with this set, the next thing we do is we take this with the times on it, and with this little hole over here, we put this onto this post that's sticking up just like that. So as you see now, our arrow is aligned with the bulb because that's the position it would be in. And now we screw this back on. Just as you see, the top is wider than the bottom. It goes with the narrower end lower because the narrow end needs to go in between this part and the lens. So we just turn it, move this around so it goes in between there, just like that, because it has to be flat with this silver part, not sticking up so you can put something underneath. You can't put anything underneath there. And now when you got it, just tighten it just the amount you want. There we go. Check your times. If turning too hard, loosen this ring. If it's turning too easily, then tighten this ring, because that's what decides how easy it is to turn this wheel to set the times. So now when you're putting it back together, you can again wipe your front lens. And now after you got that done, we put on the top part of the lens, just like that, and your camera is done. That's all you need to know about this camera, basically. And that, my friends, is how you use this camera and how you can check and do some simple maintenance on it. If you're interested in getting one yourself, it's a very good camera, very cheap compared to the expensive Rolleiflexes or anything like that. You can get them very cheap in here in Poland. So hope you like this video, hope you like this camera, and we will be doing more videos about this, more videos about shooting film on this. So if you don't want to miss it, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe down below, and click the bell button to get notified about any new video so you don't miss any amazing content. Thank you for watching, my friends. Take care.